Episode 72 of the HooperCast. The reason I sound like this is because this episode's all about action! Actually, this is me and Jack, and we're going to start doing some episodes where we talk about action films specifically, and just tropes and little things about action films that either which ones are played out, which ones are classic. And today we're going to be talking about Olympus Has Fallen versus White House Down, just because they have the same plot. But normally we'd probably be talking about one film. So this episode's a little long because we do a lot of comparing, and we're still finding our footing with the format. And the 5-5-5 finding footing with the format 5-5-4-3-2-1. So bear with us, but it's a great discussion, and if you've seen the films, it's pretty fun to listen to. So enjoy it, please. And thank you. And your spoon goes on the left. Jack, hello. How are you?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I am good. We are recording this on a Sunday evening. It's a rare schedule for me to be recording these things, but we wanted to get together and do an episode about action movies, specifically.
Yes.
This was your idea.
I love action films.
I like ripping them apart.
Well, good. Me too. Sometimes I like the ridiculousness of them. And then I like to talk about how ridiculous they are.
Yes. All right. Well, for this one, we actually watched two movies, because they are quite similar in their plot, and they were released within 3 months of each other.
Something like that. I thought they may have been closer together than that. I don't know, but
yeah, 2 or 3 months. I think the films are Olympus Has Fallen and White House Down.
Right. I don't know which one came out first.
I think Olympus Has Fallen came out first, and I think that benefited it. I think Olympus Has Fallen was in March, and I think White House Down was in June or July. And I'm not going to look it up because I don't feel like
it's not that important.
This is spirit of the law versus letter of the law. My point is, not same year, and I think Olympus Has Fallen was out first.
Okay. Well, and I'm going to go ahead and say that, good for them for being willing to release in March and not waiting for the summer blockbuster hype, and for not thinking that they're worthy of that.
Right. Well, let's go ahead and say this. I feel like it's important to go ahead and state which ones we preferred off the bat, so that people we don't have to do a guessing game. I thought Olympus Has Fallen was a much better film, and I also just enjoyed it better.
I would agree completely.
Okay, so we're on the same page about that. The way I remember it, I saw these. This is like maybe a month ago that I saw both of these films, and I think probably longer for you.
Yes.
The plot of Olympus, in Olympus Has Fallen, it stars Gerard Butler, or Gerard, as he's the main character. He is a Secret Service agent. Is he the head? He's the head of the Secret Service. Not the head, but he's like the primary.
So in the beginning, he's like the head of the presidential detail.
Okay.
Which the opening scene is the president and Gerard Butler boxing. Which
the president's played by Aaron Eckhart.
Aaron Eckhart does an okay job, I thought.
As president?
As president. Yeah, he's not the most unbelievable president, but he's not the most believable president either.
Well, we'll get to that. I think he was a better president than Jamie Foxx in White House Down.
Oh, absolutely. For multiple reasons. But so they're boxing, and the first scene, it opens up and they're boxing each other, which I don't know. I've never been president, nor have I ever been the lead for his security detail.
Yes.
But I would assume probably one of the main rules of, doing protective detail services don't hit your principal. Like, don't hit the guy that you're protecting multiple times in the face. But apparently they break that rule. Which is fine, whatever. You can tell in the opening sequence they're very close. Their families are very close. It's like Gerard Butler's basically one of the family.
Yeah, and now, in contrast, in White House Down, Channing Tatum's the main character, and he is not a member of the Secret Service. He is, he works for, isn't he with the Capitol Police?
Yeah, he's a Capitol Police officer, which I actually have kind of a unique take on both of these roles because I've been pretty far in the application process for both the Secret Service and the Capitol Police.
Yes.
So just in White House Down, Channing Tatum's character is kind of a screw up, I guess you would say.
Yeah.
He's like, constantly screwing up. He kind of falls ass backwards into being a Capitol Police officer, which from my experience, if you probably have a sitting member of Congress tell them that they want you to be a Capitol Policeman, it'll probably happen. But he apparently goes straight into like protective services, and it doesn't really work that way. You kind of have to be like a beat cop for a little while.
Yeah, but he's Channing Tatum, bro.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, fair enough. And you gotta have a willing suspension of disbelief in any movie. So didn't really have a problem with it. And he's one of the detail guys for the Speaker of the House, who is played by
Richard Jenkins.
Yes, who was in Step Brothers.
Yes.
So
and he's been in a lot of movies.
Right. He has.
Yes.
I think our generation probably knows him best.
Mr. Doback.
For being Dr. Doback.
Oh, excuse me. It's Dr. Doback.
And wanting to be a Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Yeah. Well, what kind of gets Gerard Butler to where he is an incident occurs in which the First Lady is killed. From what I thought, from how it unfolded on screen, it looked like an attack. Like I thought they were being attacked, but it was just a straight up like road accident.
It was just slippery ice, and they were on a bridge.
Yeah,
and to be fair, he kind of internalizes it and makes it his fault, and the president is kind of like, hey, it's your fault too.
Yeah,
but really, it was the president's fault because he keeps like being like, hey, save my wife too. And he won't shut up.
Yeah.
And if he had just shut up and let Gerard Butler do his job. He probably would have saved everybody.
Yeah. But perhaps he's incapable of internalizing, so he projected it onto him and said, hey, it's his fault.
Fine, whatever. Yeah, exactly. I mean, Anyways, there's no like, I think it's fair to say there's no like hard feelings between the two, but Gerard Butler's not on his detail anymore. He's working at like Secret Service headquarters across the street from the White House.
Yeah, it's almost like a role reversal because it's not a direct inverse relationship. But Channing Tatum goes from being a Capitol Policeman to essentially being Secret Service, whereas Gerard Butler goes from being Secret Service to de facto Capitol Policeman and then back to Secret Service. In a way, like he gets sort of put down to it. He gets put on the desk.
Right, exactly.
Let me say this about a difference between the two of them. Olympus Has Fallen is rated R, and White House Down is PG-13.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, so I noticed this in White House Down because there's not really much blood in White House Down. The attack is coming, and people are getting shot. I don't notice much blood. Now, Olympus Has Fallen, there's this... What kind of plane is it? Like a C...
It's an AC-130.
AC-130.
Gunship.
Okay, which is what caliber bullet?
Well, there's 3 different weapon systems on it. You have I want to say a 40 millimeter cannon, maybe a 30 millimeter cannon. Mm-hmm. You have, I want to say, a 40 millimeter grenade launcher on it, but it may be bigger than that. And then a 105 millimeter howitzer. So you've got some pretty destructive power in it.
People are getting shot like just all out in the street by this thing. Not to mention by ground troops. I guess you could ground insurgents. people. I mean, I'm seeing blood spatter. I'm seeing exit wounds. I'm seeing some pretty heinous shit.
Right.
And,
Which
and this to me is more realistic of like I can't. You're not really selling the gravity of the situation by showing people sort of getting just shot and then falling. It's like,
down.
where's the squib? I don't see a gunshot wound. I'm just seeing an actor falling down, and so it takes me out of it. If you're gonna sell me like this big, like oh god situation, make me scared.
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, you've gone through this entire ridiculous, notion of this massive warbird flying across essentially two states. Across multiple military bases, and then just decimating Washington D.C. So you kind of owe it to the audience to say, okay, we're going to show people getting really messed up, which they do, and I think that kind of brings you back. It makes it a little bit more acceptable that this just super preposterous thing has just happened. I just as a rule enjoy rated R action movies more than PG-13 because PG-13's kind of gotten neutered a little bit from what it used to be able to do, and you just can't, unless you can really, really artistically imply lots of violence, it's not really going to be that as effective. I mean, Olympus Has Fallen took the risk in two big ways. They released in March, and they had rated R. So that's automatically, people don't want to do R ratings because you're narrowing your audience right out of the gate. What you do get to do if it's rated R is there's less student, and they did it not independently. They had distribution, but I don't think they had as much. They didn't secure as much. You get more money too if you do PG-13, but if the studio gives more money, they want more control. So what you can do with rated R is you can make, what I would argue would be a better film with less interference, and you're taking the risk of limiting the audience, but it can ultimately pay off if the film's better, which I think happened. I think I need to pull up the figures because now I'm just talking out of my ass. Well, I think that too. That depends on your, I guess, your production team almost, like your director, your writers. Like I think that's probably something that you have to determine before you go into making this film. Is all right. First off, let's recognize this for what it is. A 90s-esque throwback to the 90s type action films. Are we gonna do it right and make it R and really just kind of make fun of ourselves almost in a way to where we're able to make a good film, or are we going to kind of hold back a little bit and make it try and make it more appealing to everybody?
Yeah, Olympus Has Fallen was March. White House Down was June.
Okay.
And Olympus Has Fallen had a budget of $70 million. And it made 161, more than double. White House Down was 150 million, and it made 205. So it made back,
about
an extra
quarter.
Yeah,
a quarter of what
in the movie business, you have to make back like 3 times your budget to be considered a success because you got to pay the studio, you got to pay marketing, distribution, you got to pay the actors, and then you want some profit. So it's actually when you have a big movie like Lone Ranger, which is like $500 million, that has to make some serious money to make a profit. So it's like, oh, but it made back more than its budget. It's like, yeah, but it's still a flop. It's weird
right.
movie logic.
Sure. Well, just business logic, really.
Yeah, business logic.
I think that's one thing people forget is that movies are a business. We're getting off on a tangent here, but
yeah. But it's Dustin and I talk about it all the time. It's like, but the art, and it's like, yeah, but this is
but you're not just throwing money.
The art is the product.
The
product is how you do it is for a couple things in Olympus Has Fallen. I just kind of wrote down as a couple of tropes. I didn't really enjoy. Well, actually, I should save that for the end, probably. I just, in general, I think Olympus Has Fallen was a better made film, and not as much like, even though it had an R rating, it didn't as much revel in itself as as White House Down. It showed violence, but as a reminder of this is a serious situation. I thought the tension was better played, whereas I felt White House Down was more just like this fun, like, oh man, crazy, right, kind of scenario.
Yeah, and there's, I mean, we can get into it later, but the one part that really kind of stuck out, that really proved that to me was when Jamie Foxx, who is the president, first off, the least presidential person ever.
Oh my God!
There's this scene where he's like, Channing Tatum's like, all right, we'll split up. I got to go do that. I can't remember what he was doing. Maybe he was going to get like a knife or like a cell phone or something like that.
Yeah.
And Jamie Foxx is like, I'm going to go get some shoes. And he goes into like his bedroom and is like, goes into his closet and he just has like a shelf, like shelves, plural, full of Jordans.
Yeah.
And grabs a pair.
I missed when he grabbed it. I just looked down and noticed one time, like, where did he get there? Does he wear Air Jordans all the time?
No, and so like there's like an attack scene, like some dude like
attacks him,
but he like grabs his Jordans, and Jamie Foxx freaks out and beats the dude up with his Jordans, and then he stops, looks at the dude and is like, you don't ever touch a black man's Jordans.
Yeah, he does that thing where he says a syllable with every kick. He said, "Get your hands off my Jordans."
Okay, that's it.
And that infuriates me in movies when they do that.
Me too. And it's like, and then he like stops and looks at the camera and like almost like breaks the fourth wall and like gives this like stupid ass smile.
Oh my God.
And it's just like, God, you know what? Like,
there were so many references to Obama, by the way. I remember when this was coming out, he was like, I'm not playing Obama. But I noticed when he spoke, he got a lot more articulate. And he did the whole thumb thing that Obama does. And there's a billion references to Lincoln, coming from a black president. And all I could think of was, this is Obama. And he's like, whenever he spoke in public, he would channel Obama. But then he gets all street, when he's fighting.
I guess we should set up what happened, like the attacks.
Yeah.
So in Olympus has fallen, North Koreans are attacking.
Yes.
But it's not the North Koreans. It's like like a freedom fighting.
Yeah.
So actually, are they North Koreans or are they South Koreans?
They are. I think they just say Korea. Oh, he says you're from the North or whatever. So I think they are North Koreans, but not on behalf of like Kim Jong-un.
North, right. And in White House Down, it's disillusioned, like disillusioned veterans.
Staff. Yeah,
veterans. Who have decided that, which I guess you could say that's a broader like social context, that they're like probably a social issue that they're trying to deal with,
right?
But they don't do it in the right way, and they make such a joke out of it.
Oh, and instead, James Woods is like, "Hey, don't you want some cake?" And Jason Clarke's like, "I'm diabetic." It's like this is what?
Yeah. Well, so James Woods is the head of the Secret Service detail in White House Down, and his second in command is Maggie Gyllenhaal, who is just such a terrible actress to begin with, and then she does such a shitty job in this movie. That's the other thing that really bugged me. Was for whatever reason, what's his face wants to be a Secret Service agent, not Capitol Police.
Yeah, Channing
Tatum, and so he's apparently like nailing some chick who's on the White House staff, or like not even nailing her, just like he's like had sex with her in the past. He's also got a daughter, by the way, who loves everything presidential.
Yeah.
So he's like, oh hey, I'm gonna score some points with my daughter by taking her on this tour of the White House.
Yeah.
And also, my slam piece in the White House has set up an appointment with me with the Secret Service.
Piece?
I mean, that's essentially what she is.
Well,
she's
and
in the
also,
movie. She's in the movie like twice. In like every time she speaks, there's like she's like, wait, but aren't you gonna call me? Or I mean,
and
it's
he's like, nah.
Yeah, he's like, whatever, bitch.
Yeah. Well, and he's not even. He invites his daughter because he's interviewing for the job, and then when he doesn't get it, he lies to her and says, "Oh yeah, I think I did okay." And then they're about to leave, and she's like, "Let's go on the tour, please." And so they stay. So they're painting Channing Tatum as more of this John McClane kind of action hero, like the wrong place, wrong time kind of guy, right? Whereas Gerard Butler's the one who runs in toward the gunfire voluntarily,
right? And I mean, each character has its merits. Like I love the Die Hard films. Like I love the John McClane character. But you got to do it in the right way,
yeah, and they even put him in a wife beater like Bruce Willis,
Yeah, they did. Yeah. So he has this interview with Maggie Gyllenhaal, who apparently he went to college with, and apparently Maggie like slutted around in college or something like that, and he knew was friends with her ex-husband or something like that, but she doesn't like him because he was a loafer and flunked out of college and then went in the Marines and saved the Speaker of the House's nephew or something like that. And so anyway, so she's like, nah man, I'm not going to give you this job. And she's, I mean, honestly in the interview she's pretty much a bitch about it.
Yeah.
And that's not, first off, that's not how that entire thing works. There's a reason that the Secret Service does not operate that way, and it's because you could just be like, well, I went to high school with her, I went to college with her, and she said I was stupid and I couldn't read good.
Yeah.
So, whatever, okay, again, you've kind of got to, do the willing suspension of disbelief for the movie's sake, but to me, it was just a bit too far, and maybe that's being nitpicky on my part, but it was just like, if that had been the last thing that I was like, ugh, okay, whatever, I probably would have enjoyed the movie a little bit more, but it wasn't. There were so many other just absolutely ridiculous things.
Well, to me, it was just like, let's just get to the action, because this is what this is supposed to be, and all this setup doesn't really mean anything to me.
Right.
It's just, so I think Olympus's fall, I can't remember who got to the attack first, but nevertheless, Olympus's fall, North Koreans attack, each movie has an inside person, because that's the only real way you could ever hope to take over the White House, is having an inside man.
Right, and in Olympus Has Fallen, it's a former Secret Service agent, and the actor is the guy who looks like your dad.
Well, it's in Olympus Has Fallen. It's the There's Dylan McDermott is the guy who works for the Secret Service, or former, and he's with some other personal detail or something. Yeah,
it's like he's a security advisor to the Korean detail.
Got it. Okay, so it's him, and the bad guy's posing as one of the staff of the Koreans.
Right, he's as one of their security detail also.
And then in White House Down, it's James Woods, Benedict Arnolding this whole thing and letting in the freedom fighters, and it seems to be for different reasons. Because in Olympus Has Fallen, they are trying to. What was their whole thing? They're trying to.
They're trying to get nuke codes.
They're getting nuke codes so that they can launch all of the U.S.'s nukes, so that they'll be defenseless against Korea's nukes, I think.
Maybe something like that.
And then in White House Down, it was sort of similar, but in White House Down, it was more like
White House Down was
troops in the middle, withdrawing troops in Middle East.
That's what it is. Yeah,
peace treaties and So they were, because each president was not liked for a particular reason. They didn't like Aaron Eckhart's because he had done something they each had they gave them each something that they had done that was really good. Aaron Eckhart's president got everyone dependent off of foreign oil dependency or something, and then Jamie Foxx had set up this whole peace deal. They're really trying to paint him. They each sort of have this worldview. I felt like Aaron Eckhart's president was much more libertarian or even Republican, but in the foreign oil thing, maybe kind of Democrat, but not like super liberal Democrat, just more like, hey, as a business thing, as an economic,
middle
advantage
of the road
to us,
kind of guy.
Yeah, but White House Down was straight up like, hey, peace, man. No one wants war, right?
Right, exactly.
And it's PG-13, so this is going for a younger demographic anyway.
Which is fine.
But it was just simple. Like White House Down was full of all this stuff that was just like, there was nothing subliminal in Olympus Has Fallen about America sucks. Like White House Down was full of like, whenever you'd hear like the news on stuff, like as stuff's going on in the background, there'd be pauses where like they're looking at an explosion at the White House, and then in the background you can hear like a pundit going like, it seems the terrorists want this and this and this. Well, after all, America does have the largest weapons cache in all the world, and it's just like little things plugging in there saying like, well, America's pretty bad, you guys, and that's just a personal thing to me that I hate seeing in movies or even anyone talk about. I hate the idea that even in these films that you're trying to get people to think like, oh, I'm not saying we have to be all elitist and jingoistic or whatever, but you don't run around saying your country sucks for these, very opinionated reasons. And I hate in movies when they do that. Like, hey, they're attacking us, but we sort of earned it, right? I mean, we had slaves and stuff. Like, fuck off.
Right. So did England, guys.
Yeah, everyone had slaves. It's just, I don't know.
It's not a justification, by the way.
Yeah,
nobody's justifying slavery.
I
get what you're saying.
Yeah.
And so the overall plot. The overall plot in White House Down is super complicated too.
Yeah.
In the end.
Oh yeah.
So James Woods is helping these disillusioned vets because his son was killed in either Iraq or Afghanistan.
Right, which is totally the president's fault.
Right, exactly. And so he's bitter about it.
Yeah.
So he wants to kill the president.
Yeah.
But it's this like huge conspiracy where they take out like the vice president too. They kill the vice president right after he gets sworn in as president.
Right.
While he's on Air Force One. I can't remember how they take down Air Force One, but they do.
Yeah, I think they launch a missile or something.
Yeah, I think you're right. And Channing Tatum's slam piece is actually on Air Force One, I think.
Oh no, not my slam piece, bro.
Yeah, dude, he's out. He's out of some sweet.
I gotta run the circuit again and get some numbers.
Yeah. So then, as we all know, due to presidential secession, it falls to who? The Speaker of the House. So the Speaker of the House is all like, "Oh no, this is terrible. Like this is awful.
It's a tough decision, but we got to do it.
But we got to do it." So he's like, "Well, we're going to bomb the shit out of the White House because nothing else is working. We're just going to bomb the shit out of it."
Yeah.
So then like they do, but they wind up like everybody gets saved. It just kills James Woods and the bad guys, and which is super convenient. And so then, like, Channing Tatum figures out that the Speaker of the House and James Woods and these disillusioned vets have been working together so that the Speaker of the House could become president. So, anyways, that's like, in so many words, that's the plot. So it's this massive conspiracy, and nobody but Channing Tatum figures it out. Through a really loose connection, which is that, like, James Wood had a beeper and was communicating with somebody via beeper, and the only other person that, out of the entire world, that Channing Tatum knows that uses a beeper is also the Speaker of the House.
Watching Channing Tatum do detective work was fascinating.
Yes.
He talks on a beeper. Who else uses a beeper? And I wish I had been there to say, oh, more people than you think, actually. I mean, it's an outdated technology, but it's not completely obsolete.
Drug dealers,
shut up, bro.
Multiple doctors.
Yeah, I'd hate to shit on your point, but fair amount of people still use beepers, sir.
Right, like, I'm pretty sure when they're prosecuting, that was not going to hold up in a court.
No.
Like, well, they both use beepers.
Yeah, it's like, oh, man, I haven't used my beeper in 10 years. Yeah,
you're
guilty.
You're right. Yeah, exactly.
Guilty.
It just played more to the whole, like, absurdity of the movie.
Yeah.
You know, that was, like...
That's how they come to the conclusion. That's how they wrap it up.
Well, and just that plot in general was so absurd to me. Like, you know, in Olympus Has Fallen, Morgan Freeman is the Speaker of the House, and he takes over, but he's very unwilling to do so, and he makes a lot of sound decisions. Like, he's always his main goal throughout the entire thing is the preservation of as many lives as possible.
Who are you talking about?
Morgan Freeman in Olympus Has Fallen.
Olympus Has Fallen. Right.
Right. And it's just such a complete and total contrast in White House Down, because, you know, the Speaker of the House in that film's only, like, goal is to become the president.
Right. Exactly.
And he's like, to the point where he's like, they're like, wait, you know, we think the president's still alive, and we think that Channing Tatum's going to get him out alive. Like, we're in communication with him, and he's like, no, I've made my decision.
Yeah, it's just bomb it. It's hacky writing, because you give the bad guys stupid reasons for committing the insane level of treason they're committing.
Right. And
then you're giving all the other characters stupid one-dimensional reasons for making the choices they're making. And then all these little things that are just thin and not very well thought out. Whereas in Olympus Has Fallen, everyone's motivation is believable, clear, or multifaceted in an understanding way. You know, and I believe the hero as like a competent, hero. Gerard Butler has 10 times the charisma of Channing Tatum. I love Channing Tatum. I think his career's had a great resurgence with the Jump Street movies and the other things he's done.
Magic Mike and all that.
He's great,
right.
But this was not a good movie for him, because it's all, hey, stop touching that, don't touch that vase again.
To me, it was like it was a step backwards for him, because it went back to him being just like this stupid meathead.
Yeah, this meathead from Fort Lauderdale,
right?
Or Tampa. And
he's from Tampa.
He's from
Birmingham.
I think he spent a large amount of his life in Tampa.
He graduated high school from Coleman, actually, I think.
Let's explore this. Okay, he was born in Coleman, moved to Mississippi when they were 6, and then when did he go? Oh, I think he went to Tampa when he started working.
Right.
Okay,
because
sorry.
Because right. he was like a Chippendales dancer in Tampa.
In Tampa. That's kind of what Magic Mike's based on. Okay, sorry.
Right.
Yeah. All right.
I know too much about Channing Tatum, apparently. I think you're right. It's the act, just everything about Olympus Has Fallen, from the execution, the acting was so much better.
Well, in terms of what they reached for, I judge a movie based on where they're going for and did they achieve it. Right. And Olympus Has Fallen reached higher in terms of what it wanted to achieve and how it could do it, and what it could recoup from it. And they ultimately made double their money and made a better film. By the way, Olympus Has Fallen is directed by Antoine Fuqua. White House Down is Roland fucking Emmerich, The Day After Tomorrow, and Independence Day, which, by the way, he self-references in this movie. This masturbatory self-reference. It's like, it's so, Anton Fuqua is, Training Day and Tears of the Sun and Shooter and The Equalizer. He's a great director.
Well, and that's so I felt the reason that I kind of like these films is growing up I loved Air Force One.
Yeah.
I love those The Eraser. I love these old.
Oh, I love Eraser. Eraser is so great, dude. I met James Cromwell at the film festival, and that's what I chose to pull out of his lexicon to talk to him about was Eraser. I was oh man, I love when you kill yourself at the beginning.
I'm sure he's like, oh wow, thanks.
You know what he said? He goes, there's one line in that movie I really love. I was like, oh, I didn't expect this. And he's like, it's when I turn to Vanessa Williams and I say, you have no fucking idea, Lee. You could never understand. I was like, yeah, whatever that means, sure. I don't know. I don't know if that was him telling me, like, you have no idea, like, the stupid reference you just made to. You couldn't talk to me about the Green Mile or or anything else.
Like great films,
American Horror Story, just anything. Right. But yeah, I love Eraser, and I like these. And
so it felt to me that, like, okay, when you watch the previews, it's like, okay, they're reaching back to the golden age of action movies in the 90s, and they're gonna do a 90s-esque film, like action movie.
Yeah.
And that's, from beginning to end, that's exactly what Olympus Has Fallen felt like to me. I mean, there were
advertised.
Right, exactly. There are some corny lines in it. I mean, but they're good corny. They're not like cringeworthy. It's like, when Gerard Butler's on the radio to the leader of the North Koreans, and he's like, I'm gonna kill all your friends and family, and Gerard Butler's like, I'm gonna stick my knife through your fucking skull.
Yeah.
And then he does it. Like, that's a typical, like, you can totally see Stallone or Schwarzenegger saying that in like, one of those 90 films.
Yeah.
And the same thing when they're like, they're weighing their options, and the head of the Secret Service is like, don't forget about, Gerard Butler, and they're like, he's only one man. She's like, yeah, but he was a Ranger Special Forces, Delta guy.
Yeah.
Which is corny and dumb, but that's exactly what they would have said in these 90s action movies.
Right.
And just everything about it. And so it was like he set out to say, all right, look, I'm going to make something that is from a bygone era of campy corniness.
With a vague political context as necessary to tell the story this way.
Right. Which, all those existed back then. I mean,
and they know we don't really care about why they're doing it or what sort of policies. We're there for the action. And what I appreciated more out of Olympus Has Fallen, just even not in comparison to White House Down, I appreciated seeing members of the president's cabinet not cooperating with terrorists at all. Not even a little bit.
Exactly.
I liked the what's like her whatever she was, the Secretary of Defense lady or whatever, she being dragged and like to go be tortured after being beaten, and she's saying the Pledge of Allegiance. I really appreciated that. Like, I just enjoyed, because I thought, you see too much in movies, either a corny version of that, or you have, like she'll shoot the guy in the head, like, I pledge allegiance to the flag. You either see that, or you see them going, okay, I'll give you the code because we're all humans, right? We'd all fold under pressure. I enjoy seeing someone who goes, no, I will not, because if I acquiesce, they will succeed. Like, I appreciate seeing people seeing
the larger picture and
saying like, I'm a piece of this sucks, but I can't give them my code.
Well,
under any circumstances.
And that kind of speaks to the larger, point where it's like, all right, well, we just want peace. Well, yeah, so the way to make peace and ensure peace happens is to not give your code to the nukes that they're going to use to explode the entire world.
It's Mr. Spock would have said, well, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few.
Yeah.
Like, if they had Leonard Nimoy in there, he would have been like, well, you're going to have to kill us then, because that's just the logical thing. I'm preventing exponentially more death by not giving you my code to save myself.
Right, exactly.
Just a quick note, that is super creepy because Leonard Nimoy died like a week after we recorded this episode. Olympus Has Fallen. They did a couple things I didn't like. TVs do not make the click sound anymore when they're turned off. They turn off a flat screen TV at the very beginning and went, and I'm like, no, it doesn't. That's a tube TV thing. The movies both did a thing where they had the accent. Gerard's accent, broke a few times. It's just something, but Jason Patrick's, Jesus, way more in White House Down. I don't like the literal ticking clock for missile detonations. And I also didn't like that they stop the detonation when there's like 3 seconds left. Would it kill them to stop the clock at 54 seconds? You're not sacrificing that much more tension. We all know it's going to stop. So why jerk me around and be like, oh, 5, 4, 3, it's like, stop it at 51. Just,
I don't know.
The threat remains.
To me, it's like, that's part of that throwback. I mean, that's something that they would have done in the 90s. They wouldn't have stopped it at 54. They would have let it go down to 3 or 2 or 1 or 5 or whatever.
I wish we'd stop doing that.
Fair enough.
Aside from everything else we said that we liked about it, the villains are smart and they shoot everyone in the head. Like, they find all the people lying dead in the White House. They go around and give them all a bullet to the head in case they're faking or in case they're still not dead yet. I appreciate that. I would do that if I was a bad guy. I'd just go around and be like, hey, you know what I'd do if I was in this room but kind of a coward? I'd pretend to be dead. Well, solve that right now. Go around, pick up everyone, bullet to the head. It's an investment. You know?
Right. Fair enough.
I like that they show bystanders being killed because there's never enough collateral damage shown in a film that shows an attack of this scale. This is the Capitol being attacked, and if they hadn't shown a lot of innocent bystanders, because it's almost like you cannot clear the streets that fast. So if they had just shown only armed Secret Service members getting gunned down, I would have been like, no, like this, there would be civilian casualties, and you have to show that. Otherwise, I don't feel a threat. I feel like people who live by the sword or dying by the sword. You need to see people who, it sucks, but they're just in the wrong place at the wrong time and they don't survive.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
But it had, better story structure, better action, and, it's just better film. Now, White House Down, my notes on this are way longer than all that. The movie starts with Channing Tatum talking to a squirrel, by the way. That's the tone we've set. He talks to a fucking squirrel while he's waiting for Richard Jenkins to come out. He's like, oh, hey, squirrel. And I was thinking about Mark Wahlberg talks to animals. And during this, it's like, hey, squirrel, how you doing? Oh, yeah, just waiting for him to Speaker of the House to come out. It's a big day today. I got a job interview. I got to make my life better for myself, for my daughter, my ex-wife. I was like, okay, say hello to your mother for me. Channing Tatum, his ex-wife is a total bitch, of course.
Yeah, I've
seen movies, by the way, where they show an amicable divorce, and there's nothing lost. Like, you don't have to show that his ex-wife is a total B. You could have him be like, look, I know you're trying, but it's not good enough, Not like, you're just a fuck up. You're just a stupid fuck up, and I hate you.
And especially since there's more than just her saying that. I mean, like, he gets enough of that from Maggie Gyllenhaal in the film.
Exactly. She's not needed.
That you've made both of them the same character.
Exactly.
Essentially.
There's a smaller crew taking over the White House and White House Down, but it's less believable. I think we discussed that.
Well, and it's a bit more of a complex attack because they have another crew that explodes a bomb in the rotunda of the Capitol building.
Yeah.
And Channing Tatum's partner walks right by the guy and is like, oh, hey. No, he stops him. He's pushing a cleaning cart and he's like, stops him. He's like, hey, wait a second. And you're like, and
I was told to go here.
Sure. Yeah, and he's like, I just need to throw in a coffee cup. And like tosses his coffee cup and is like, all right, have a good day.
All right, I believe you.
Yeah, exactly. So
you
just
seem
more
trustworthy.
Yeah, just more, kind of ridiculous stuff.
Yeah, and then all the stuff they pull in Olympus Has Fallen with the plane and the suicide bombers at the fence and whatever. It's just like, that's less believable. But if it did go down like that, the situation is more believable to me than in White House Down, than like a smaller, a couple of small teams within the White House. It's just, I don't believe it as much. Should Channing Tatum have stopped looking for his daughter to go get the president? He says, I hope she got out. I'm not judging him or anything. It's just it's not his job to protect the president. And I know it's like, well, but the higher calling, I get it. But no matter, look, I don't care if Ronald Reagan was the president now. If my daughter's loose in the White House and I'm just there on a tour, I'd at least make a big effort to go find her before I realized it might be a lost cause. But he doesn't even really look for her.
Well, I mean, they do kind of split ways at one point, and he's like, I gotta go find her.
Once the president's out.
You get out, I gotta go find my daughter.
Yeah. And he just happened upon where the president was. He's just like, he just happened to be where they were about to shoot him or do whatever. And it's like, Gerard Butler did a lot more work to actually accomplish the task.
And he just kind of happens upon a gun, too, doesn't he?
Exactly.
how he gets a gun, because when he goes in for the interview, the Secret Service guy takes his gun.
Yeah, I think he's hiding somewhere with a knife, and he takes down one of the guys and takes their gun.
Okay,
which that's fine.
Yeah, he does. It's like behind a curtain.
Yeah,
it's like not even a clever hiding spot.
It reminds me of like a scary movie when he's like, "I'm in your house. Do you know where I am?" She's like, "You're behind the couch. I can see your feet." He's like, "Oh, what? Oh, damn." Yeah.
Just bad like hiding abilities.
There are stupid lines in White House Down. One of the,
like the entire time.
Like the one of them is he shoots the Secretary of Defense in the head. James Woods is like, "You just killed Secretary of Defense." He's like, "Well, he wasn't doing a very good job."
Yeah, every line was campy in that.
I wanted to show up and be like, "Well, his job isn't defending himself; it's really defending the country." So your witty comeback doesn't make sense,
right?
Yeah, White House Down, like I said, a lot preachier about the military-industrial complex and the Middle East, and America's, the United States, nuclear arsenal.
And then they had that scene where Jamie Foxx and Channing Tatum are driving around the White House lawn in that like super armored SUV.
Oh my god, that has a fucking
rocket launcher in the
back of it, and
and Channing Tatum's trying to like walk Jamie Foxx through how to use it, and Jamie Foxx like, "Man, I don't know how to do this shit."
Yeah, come on, man.
And then like winds up with it, sticking his head out of
totally exposing his brain and chest.
and is shooting and doesn't hit anything. Like the only thing he's hitting is like buildings and then a fence. Yeah. And then they decide that they can't drive through the fence because it's too strong. Motherfucker, you got a goddamn rocket launcher. Like, I'm pretty sure you can get through that wrought iron fence with that rocket launcher.
I was half expecting them to rocket launch and build and have it like in a video game where you shoot a couple of trash cans and then a plank of wood falls down and all of a sudden you have a ramp. I was expecting them to ramp off of the White House lawn.
And then they go into that pool house, and I don't know that.
Okay, so yes, I'll get to that.
It was so ridiculous.
So at that part, you're telling me the head of the president's security detail, James Woods is down there at that point. They're sort of caught, and they do this thing where Channing Tatum, slips, pretends to take them hostage, but he slips them a grenade, and he drops it, and they all run. You're telling me the head of this president's security detail did not notice Channing Tatum handing. I almost said Barack Obama, handing Jamie Foxx a grenade. It's just like, if you can't see both their hands, wouldn't the first thing you do is be like, hands? And he's handing him a grenade, not even that secretly, here, pull the pin out. It's like, it's a grenade. I know what to fucking do. I don't have to, it's not like it's a Rubik's Cube where I have to solve it and then it'll start exploding.
It's not a rocket launcher in the backseat of an SUV. I know this part.
I know how to, So you're telling me he didn't notice that shit?
Yeah.
So anyway, that's happening. Jason Patrick is super emotional for a bad guy, and it was off-putting.
I think they were trying to make him be PTSD-y.
Yeah, well, it just came off as whiny.
Missed the mark. Yeah,
it was horrible.
Completely missed.
It was horrible. He was the worst part of the movie, Jason Patrick, just screaming the whole time, and it's just, shut up. Yeah. The president offers to stay and help Channing Tatum get his daughter. It's like, no, get out. You have a job. You need to stay alive. I just got you a way out of here. Leave. And he's like, what about your daughter? Who cares? And you know what? There's a secret little narcissistic thing in there. I want to save your daughter because she's a fan of mine. Really? Why don't you save her by getting the fuck out of here?
Right.
They're about to invoke the 25th Amendment. In 5 minutes, he may not be the president anymore. Okay, then what? So what?
They essentially do anyways because
the
Speaker of the House is bomb the shit out of the White House.
Right. He may not be the president anymore. It's like, okay, it doesn't really affect the plot that much. I don't know.
Right.
There are two things I appreciate in this. I do appreciate that when they put the gun to the daughter's head, she understood why. Now, this might be hacky, but I don't know. At the time, it felt fine to me. She understood why he could not budge. And you don't ever see that. I appreciate. I was talking about with the cabinet members in Olympus Has Fallen. I appreciated that they put the gun in the girl's head, and he's like, "I'm sorry, I can't give him these codes." and it was a little messed up, but I don't know, I appreciated it because it was
I
expected him to be like, oh no, please don't shoot her. Here are the codes. Here's the codes that will hand over the entire country to terrorists. I appreciated because no matter what, sorry, you gotta let him shoot her, and you feel super bad about it and carry it with you if you survive this. But you have a greater responsibility than one girl's life.
Yeah,
I appreciated that, and I did like the daughter waving off the airstrike with the flag because that was set up that she was like in color guard and he missed it, and she grabs the flag and waves off the airstrike. It was a little hacky, but that was okay. At least corny, the ending was a little different. It was kind of corny, but
yeah. Well, whatever. I thought it worked.
The last thing, it was just the knife in the coffin, the knife in the coffin, the nail in the coffin. The Speaker of the House, as he's being carried away by military police, says, "You're selling this country out to the Arabs." Why do we have to remind everyone that anyone who disagrees with a black president is evil?
Well, more than that, it felt almost like the end of Scooby-Doo, where he's like, "No, I would have gotten away with it if it wasn't for you meddling kids."
Yeah.
Because he's like, "I brought you from nothing. You think I gave a shit about my nephew?
Yeah.
I brought you from nothing." So that entire just ending sequence with him really felt stupid. Also because Maggie Gyllenhaal was in that part of the movie.
Oh, the president wants to do the thing. You mean fly dangerously close to where civilians are with helicopters and weaving around trees, risking a catastrophic crash.
Well, not even that. Like, you really expect me to believe that the Secret Service and the Marine helicopter pilots, right after they've just rescued the president from a hostage situation, are going to be like, you know what? Yeah, let's fly.
Let's fuck around.
Dangerously close to the ground where a surface-to-air missile could get us.
Let's take more risks today.
And we've just escaped with your life. Let's take some more chances with it. You're right, sir. You get to do whatever you want. No, I'm sorry. That's not how the presidency works. I'm sorry, sir. We're going to Camp David, and you are going to be locked in a room with 1,000 people around you.
This was fun.
I enjoyed it.
Yes,
I did.
We need to do it again with another action movie.
Indeed, we need to come up with like cheesiest lines from recent action films or something like that.
Yeah, we'll have to do something like that.
Something fun.
Yeah. All right, dude. Well, that was fun.
Yeah, man.
Everyone, stay tuned.